I'm going to take you back once again to the good old server room. Some of you may never have heard of such a thing, but bear with me while I explain. Long ago, most companies had dedicated space in their buildings, segregated from the rest of the business operations, and housed behind a secure door. The space housed the corporate servers and the people who managed and maintained them. Servers were very expensive, taking months to build and ship. It was too loud to hold a regular conversation, and sometimes it was freezing cold. The servers had labels stuck to the front with their pet names and IP addresses. You might even see a logbook laying next to the servers or laying on top of one of the blades. It was a notebook where technicians would make notes about the server data and metadata, the updates and maintenance that had been performed, and when and by whom. And sometimes you'd see the name of the person in the company you would need to contact if you were going to make changes or perform maintenance on the server. Sometimes you wouldn't see a logbook or any documentation at all. Due to communication breakdowns and a lack of inventory control, servers could run for years with unused or decommissioned software, having had no one log into them for ages. Now, this wasn't anyone's fault in particular. Everything was fairly decentralized back then. There were no sophisticated dashboards or Slack teams, so some things slipped through the cracks. Not a huge deal, but it made the decision to virtualize infrastructure several years later a no-brainer. Moving applications to virtual servers meant more tech for engineers to master, but it also saved time and money. Lots and lots of time and money. Virtual servers were managed with dashboards, and their health could be monitored, making server management easier for engineers. Years after virtualization took over the server room, companies began to further streamline finances and effort by outsourcing infrastructure hardware management to data centers, often managed by third-party operators or engineers. Only high-level physical tasks, like adding and upgrading hardware, required visiting the off-site data center. Now, in the cloud, we can provision and manage servers in a matter of seconds. But, as you can imagine, the AWS account for a software company with millions of users and manually configured infrastructure is difficult to manage, especially with multiple teams working on many projects through many life cycles simultaneously. As you know, it is very easy to create infrastructure, and often there is no centralized location to document its use and lifespan. So just like in the old server room, servers with no purpose can be left running for a while until someone notices that it hasn't seen any activity and tracks down the owner to ask if it can be terminated. And all the while, costs continue to mount for the unused compute. Until recently, chances were very slim that AWS accounts were audited, internally or by outsiders. So mistakes like this can go unnoticed for a long time. Unless every active service was documented and that documentation was maintained, how could they be monitored and managed, or rebuilt and reconfigured if necessary? Most of all, how did we end up back here, wasting time and money on resources we can't trace and being unaware of what's happening in our infrastructure? The emergence of infrastructure as code has allowed cloud engineers to bring order and awareness to infrastructure through definition files that can be audited and versioned. In other words, the entirety of your cloud infrastructure can be defined, created, changed, and destroyed in code and saved in files, reducing error and effort.